The collision. Naomi Harper had perfected the art of invisibility over 6 years. She moved through life like a shadow, never drawing attention, never leaving traces. The small apartment in Queens was her sanctuary, paid for in cash from her waitressing tips. Her son Liam knew nothing of the world she had escaped, nothing of the man whose blood ran through his veins. That Tuesday morning started like any other. Naomi held Liam's small hand as they walked to the corner coffee shop, a rare treat after he had been brave at his dental checkup. The autumn air was crisp, carrying the scent of roasted chestnuts from a nearby vendor. Liam chattered excitedly about the dinosaur book his teacher had read in class, his voice bright with innocent joy. The coffee shop was quiet, exactly as Naomi preferred. She had learned to choose places and times that minimized exposure. Fewer people meant fewer questions, fewer chances of recognition. She ordered Liam a hot chocolate and herself a simple black coffee, counting out exact change from her worn wallet. They settled at a corner table near the large front window. Sunlight painted golden squares across the wooden floor. Liam swung his legs happily, leaving chocolate foam on his upper lip. Naomi watched him with the fierce protective love that had sustained her through 6 years of struggle. Everything she had sacrificed, every hardship she had endured, was worth it for moments like this. She was wiping chocolate from Liam's face when the familiar prickle of awareness crept up her spine. That sixth sense she had developed during her marriage, the one that warned of danger before her conscious mind could register it. Her hand stilled. Her breathing became shallow. Across the coffee shop, partially hidden in the shadows of the far corner, sat a man she had spent 6 years trying to forget. Ethan Cross looked exactly as she remembered and somehow more dangerous. His dark suit was tailored perfectly to his broad shoulders. His hair, still thick and black, showed just a touch of silver at the temples. But it was his eyes that made her blood run cold. Those distinctive storm-gray eyes that had haunted her dreams and now stared back at her from her son's face every single day. Time seemed to stop. The cheerful chatter of other customers faded to white noise. Naomi could hear nothing but her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. 6 years of careful planning, of strategic hiding, of building a life in the cracks where powerful men didn't look, all of it crumbling in a single moment of catastrophic timing. Ethan's coffee cup paused halfway to his lips. She watched recognition dawn across his features. Shock first, then something darker. His gaze moved from her face to Liam, and Naomi saw the exact moment he understood. Liam had inherited everything from his father. The sharp bone structure, the determined set of his jaw, and most damning of all, those impossible gray eyes. They were rare, distinctive, unmistakable. No amount of distance or time could hide that genetic truth. Ethan rose from his seat with the fluid grace of a predator. He moved with purpose, crossing the coffee shop in long strides. Naomi's first instinct was to run, to grab Liam and bolt for the door. But her body refused to cooperate, frozen by fear and something she didn't want to examine too closely. He stopped 3 feet from their table. Up close, she could see the lines time had etched around his eyes, the harder set to his mouth. 6 years had changed him, made him colder, more formidable. Or perhaps she had simply forgotten how truly dangerous he was. Naomi. Her name on his lips sent shivers down her spine. His voice was exactly as she remembered, deep and controlled, with an edge that promised consequences. Liam looked up at the tall stranger with curiosity rather than fear. Children were often poor judges of danger, seeing adventure where adults saw threat. "We need to talk." Ethan's words were not a request. "There's nothing to discuss." Naomi stood, pulling Liam to his feet. Her voice was steadier than she felt. "We were just leaving. Sit down." The command in his tone made several nearby customers glance their way. Ethan noticed and modulated his voice, but the steel underneath remained. "Please. 5 minutes." "Mommy, who is this?" Liam's question hung in the air between them. Naomi watched Ethan's jaw tighten as he looked at the boy. She could see calculations happening behind those gray eyes, questions forming and being answered. "How old is he?" Ethan asked quietly. She didn't answer. Couldn't answer. 5? 6? His voice dropped even lower, dangerous in its softness. "When's his birthday, Naomi?" "March 15th. The answer came from Liam himself, proud to share this information with the interesting stranger. Naomi saw Ethan do the math. Saw the fury and wonder and something almost like pain flash across his face. 9 months before Liam's birth would have been June, right before she had disappeared in the middle of the night, leaving nothing but a note that said she couldn't do it anymore. "You were pregnant. It wasn't a question. When you left, you were carrying my child." Before Naomi could respond, the front window exploded inward. Glass shattered in a violent spray of crystalline fragments. The crack of gunfire split the peaceful morning. People screamed. Tables overturned. Coffee cups shattered against the floor. Ethan moved faster than thought. His body covered Liam's before Naomi could even process the threat. He shoved both of them to the ground, his larger frame shielding them from the bullets that punched through the coffee shop's interior. "Stay down." Ethan's roar cut through the chaos. More gunfire. The distinctive pop-pop-pop of automatic weapons. Naomi's world narrowed to Liam's terrified crying and Ethan's body pressed against theirs. She could smell gunpowder and fear and Ethan's familiar cologne, unchanged after all these years. The attack lasted maybe 30 seconds but felt like an eternity. When the gunfire finally stopped, Ethan was already on his phone, barking orders in that tone that expected immediate obedience. Location confirmed. 3 vehicles. Automatic weapons. Get here now. Naomi's ears were ringing. She clutched Liam to her chest, checking desperately for injuries. His face was pale with shock but unmarked. No blood. No wounds. Is he hurt? Ethan's hands were already moving over Liam with surprising gentleness, checking for injuries with practiced efficiency. I don't think so. Naomi's voice shook. What just happened? Ethan's expression was grim. You chose the worst possible day to reappear in my life. Someone's been tracking me, waiting for a weakness. His eyes moved to Liam with an intensity that made her chest tight. They just found one. The sound of sirens grew louder. Through the shattered window, Naomi could see 3 black SUVs screeching away. The coffee shop looked like a war zone. Overturned furniture, shattered glass everywhere, bullet holes scarring the walls. We need to leave before the police arrive. Ethan stood, pulling them both up with him. My men are 60 seconds out. I'm not going anywhere with you. You don't have a choice anymore. Ethan's gaze was absolute. The moment they saw me protecting you and the boy, you became targets. They'll find out where you live, where he goes to school, every detail of your carefully hidden life. The terrible truth of his words hit her like a physical blow. 6 years of running, of hiding, of building a safe life for her son, all destroyed in minutes. 3 black SUVs pulled up outside, moving with military precision. Men in dark suits emerged, creating a protective corridor. Please, Naomi. For the first time, Ethan's voice softened. Let me protect you both. We'll figure everything else out later, but right now, I need to get you somewhere safe. Naomi looked at the destroyed coffee shop, at Liam's terrified face, at the dangerous world she had tried so hard to escape. Then she looked at Ethan, at the father who had just discovered his son in the most violent way possible. She had no choice at all. Okay, she whispered, and felt her carefully constructed world shatter completely. The drive to Ethan's estate took 40 minutes through increasingly exclusive neighborhoods. Naomi sat in the back seat of the middle SUV, Liam pressed against her side, while Ethan occupied the seat across from them. His presence filled the confined space, making it difficult to breathe. She kept her gaze fixed on the window, watching her old life disappear block by block. Liam had stopped crying but remained unnaturally quiet, his small fingers clutching the fabric of her shirt. Every few seconds, his eyes would dart to Ethan with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Children possessed an uncanny ability to sense when adults were hiding important truths. The SUVs passed through massive iron gates that opened silently at their approach. Naomi's breath caught as the estate came into view. It was more than a home. The sprawling mansion rose 3 stories high, surrounded by manicured gardens that probably required a full-time staff. A stone wall at least 10 feet high encircled the entire property. Security cameras tracked their progress along the winding driveway. "You live here?" Liam's voice was small but filled with wonder. "Yes." Ethan's tone softened when he addressed the boy. "And you'll be staying here for a while, until things are safe again." Naomi wanted to protest, to insist this was temporary, but the words died in her throat. What was the point? Ethan was right about the danger. The moment those attackers had seen him protecting them, they had painted targets on all 3 of their backs. The vehicles stopped at the grand entrance. More men in suits materialized, forming a protective barrier. Ethan exited first, then turned to help Liam down. Naomi watched her son place his tiny hand in his father's much larger one, and something twisted painfully in her chest. Inside, the mansion was even more intimidating. Marble floors reflected the light from crystal chandeliers. Priceless artwork adorned the walls. Every surface gleamed with the kind of cleanliness that only unlimited money could buy. A woman in her 50s appeared, elegant and professional. "Mrs. Peterson, prepare the West Wing," Ethan instructed. 2 adjoining rooms. "They'll need everything." "Of course, Mr. Cross." The woman's eyes flickered over Naomi and Liam with polite curiosity. "Should I prepare lunch as well?" "Please. Something a child would enjoy." After Mrs. Peterson left, Ethan led them through hallways designed to impress and intimidate. The West Wing was quieter, more residential. He stopped at a door and pushed it open, revealing a bedroom 3 times the size of Naomi's entire apartment. "This is yours," he told Naomi. Then he moved to the next door. "And this is for Liam." Liam peeked inside and gasped. The room was every child's dream, decorated in blues and silvers, with a bed shaped like a race car and shelves already stocked with toys and books. "Is this really all mine?" Liam asked, his earlier fear temporarily forgotten. "All yours," Ethan confirmed. Something flickered across his face when he looked at the boy. Regret, perhaps, or longing for all the years he had missed. "Liam, why don't you explore your room?" Naomi suggested gently. "I need to talk to our host." Once Liam was occupied with the toys, Ethan closed the door and turned to face her. The hallway suddenly felt too small, too intimate. 6 years, he said quietly. 6 years, Naomi. You stole 6 years of his life from me. I didn't steal anything. Her voice remained steady despite the trembling in her hands. I saved him. I saved both of us. From what? From me? The pain in his question was almost physical. From this. She gestured around them, encompassing the mansion, the guards, the violence that had followed them from the coffee shop. From a life where people shoot up public places. From a world where a 5-year-old needs bodyguards. Ethan's jaw tightened. I would have protected you both. The way you protected us today? The words came out sharper than she intended. Those bullets weren't random, Ethan. They were looking for you, and now they know about us. And whose fault is that? His voice rose slightly. If you had told me you were pregnant, if you had stayed, I could have built protections around you from the beginning. Instead, you ran, and you raised my son in poverty while I spent 2 years tearing this city apart looking for you. The admission stunned her. You looked for me? Of course I looked for you. Ethan moved closer, his presence overwhelming. Did you think I would just let you disappear? I had teams searching hospitals, shelters, bus stations. I contacted every informant I had. For 2 years, Naomi. 2 years before I finally accepted you were gone. She hadn't known. Part of her had assumed he would move on quickly, find someone else to occupy the space she had left. The thought that he had searched for her, that he had cared enough to keep looking, complicated everything. Tell me about him. Ethan's voice softened. Tell me everything I missed. The vulnerability in his request disarmed her. This was not the cold crime boss she had fled from. This was a father who had just discovered his child, desperate to know the boy he should have raised. Why should I? But even as she asked, she felt her resistance crumbling. Because despite everything, despite your fear and your justified anger, he's still my son. And I've already lost 6 years. Don't make me lose another moment. Naomi took a shaky breath. He was born in a small clinic in Pennsylvania. I paid cash, used a different name. He weighed 7 pounds, 3 ounces. He had your eyes from the moment they opened. Ethan listened with an intensity that was almost painful to witness. His first word was "Mama" at 11 months. He started walking at 13 months and hasn't stopped moving since. He's curious about everything, asks 1,000 questions a day. He wants to be an astronaut or a scientist. It changes every week. What else? Ethan's voice was rough with emotion. He's smart. Scary smart sometimes. He taught himself to read at 4 by watching educational videos on my old laptop. He loves dinosaurs and space and anything with gears or engines. She paused, the memories flooding back. There were nights when he was sick and I walked him for hours, both of us crying. Times when I worked double shifts and felt like the worst mother in the world for leaving him with neighbors. But I did my best. I gave him everything I could. You raised him alone. It wasn't a question. I chose to be alone. You shouldn't have had to be. Ethan's hand lifted as if to touch her face, then dropped. I would have been there for all of it, Naomi. The sleepless nights, the first words, the first steps. Everything. And what would that have looked like? She challenged. You disappearing for days on business that you never explained? Coming home with blood on your hands? Teaching our son that violence is just another tool? I would have kept you both safe. Safe? She laughed bitterly. Like how safe we were today. That's your version of safety, Ethan. Armed guards and bulletproof cars and always looking over your shoulder. Yes. His voice turned hard. Because that's the reality of the world I live in. The world you knew about when you married me. You can't pretend you didn't understand what I was. The truth of it stung. She had known what Ethan was when she fell in love with him. She had been young and naive, dazzled by his power and intensity. It had taken 2 years of marriage to understand the full cost of loving a man like him. A soft knock interrupted them. Mrs. Peterson appeared with a younger woman carrying trays of food. Lunch is ready, Mr. Cross. Thank you. We'll eat in the sitting room. The meal was awkward and tense. Liam picked at his food, stealing glances at Ethan while clearly trying to make sense of the situation. Naomi maintained a brittle silence, hyper-aware of every movement, every word. Ethan had changed into more casual clothes, dark jeans and a gray sweater, but the change in wardrobe did nothing to diminish his commanding presence. He watched them both with an intensity that made her skin prickle. Eat, Liam, he said gently. You need your strength. I'm not very hungry, Liam admitted. Before anyone could respond, Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his expression darkening as he read the message. Excuse me, he said, standing abruptly. I need to handle something. He left the room, and Naomi heard him speaking in rapid, clipped tones in the hallway. She couldn't make out the words, but the tone was unmistakable. He was giving orders, making decisions that probably involved violence or money or both. "Mommy," Liam whispered. "Are we in trouble?" Naomi's heart broke a little. "No, sweetheart. We're safe here." "Who is that man?" "Really?" The question she had been dreading. She took a deep breath, knowing that whatever answer she gave would change everything. "He's your father, Liam." Liam's eyes went wide. "My father? But I thought you said he was gone." "I know. I told you he had to leave, and that was true. But now he's here, and things are going to be different." "Different how?" "I don't know yet, baby. But I promise I'll keep you safe no matter what." Ethan returned then, his expression grim. "We have a situation." "What kind of situation?" Naomi asked, though she dreaded the answer. "The people who attacked us today have identified your apartment. They know where you've been living." He glanced at Liam, clearly measuring what he could say in front of the boy. "Your old home isn't safe anymore." The blood drained from Naomi's face. How did they find it so fast? They're professionals. Once they had your face, it was only a matter of time. His gaze held regret. "I'm sorry, Naomi, but you can't go back there. Not ever." The finality of it hit her like a physical blow. 6 years of building a life, of creating a safe space for her son, all destroyed in a single day. "I need to get our things," she said quietly. "Liam's clothes, his toys, things that matter. I'll send a team to collect everything." "No." She stood, meeting his eyes. "I'm going. I need to see it one last time. I need to say goodbye." Something shifted in Ethan's expression. Understanding, perhaps, or sympathy for the loss she was facing. "Fine. But we go together, with full security, and we're in and out in 30 minutes maximum." "Thank you." He studied her for a long moment. "You built a good life for him, Naomi. Despite everything, you raised a happy, healthy child. I can see that, and I'm grateful, even if I'm furious that I wasn't part of it." The unexpected acknowledgement brought tears to her eyes. "I did the best I could." "I know." This time, his hand did touch her face, just briefly. "And now you don't have to do it alone anymore." The resolution. The trip back to Naomi's apartment felt like visiting a grave. 3 black SUVs, armed escorts, Ethan beside her radiating controlled tension. Liam sat between them, quieter than usual, processing the revelation that this dangerous stranger was his father. The neighborhood looked different through Ethan's eyes. She saw him cataloging every weakness, every vulnerability. The broken streetlight on the corner, the lack of security cameras, the easy access from multiple directions. Her safe haven had always been indefensible. She just hadn't wanted to see it. The building itself was worse. A 5-story walk-up with a front entrance that didn't lock properly and hallways that smelled like cooking and regret. Ethan's security team swept the apartment first, checking every room with professional efficiency. "Clear," the lead guard reported. Naomi stepped inside with Liam, Ethan following close behind. The apartment looked exactly as they had left it that morning. Breakfast dishes still in the sink, Liam's drawings taped to the refrigerator, her waitress uniform hanging on the bathroom door. 6 years of her life contained in 3 small rooms. "This is where we lived?" Liam asked, looking around with new eyes. After one night in Ethan's mansion, their home must have seemed impossibly small. "This is home," Naomi said firmly, even as the words felt hollow. She began packing mechanically. Clothes, toiletries, Liam's favorite stuffed dinosaur. Ethan moved through the space silently, taking in every detail. She wondered what he thought, probably judging the worn furniture, the patched walls, the evidence of years spent struggling. You have books, he said finally, stopping at her small bookshelf. Reading is free if you have a library card. He pulled out a worn copy of Toni Morrison. You always loved her work. The fact that he remembered made her throat tight. Some things don't change. And some things do. He placed the book in the box she was packing. You should bring all of them. They're part of your story. The unexpected sensitivity caught her off guard. This was the Ethan she had fallen in love with, the man who paid attention to details, who noticed what mattered to people. 5 minutes, one of his men warned from the doorway. Naomi worked faster, grabbing essentials and memories. A photo of her and Liam at the beach last summer, the drawing Liam had made of their family showing just the two of them holding hands, her grandmother's recipe box. Each item felt like a small goodbye. She was in Liam's room, packing his clothes, when her phone rang. Unknown number. Her hand trembled as she answered. Hello? Naomi Harper. The voice was unfamiliar, accented, cold. Or should I say Naomi Cross? You've been very difficult to find. Her blood turned to ice. Who is this? Someone who has waited a long time to have leverage over Ethan Cross. Thank you for making it so easy. The call disconnected. Naomi stood frozen, the phone slipping from her nerveless fingers. Ethan was there in an instant, his hands on her shoulders. What happened? Who was that? They called me. Her voice shook. They know who I am. They know everything. Ethan's expression turned deadly. He picked up her phone, checking the number, already typing something into his own device. We're leaving. Now. He barked orders into his phone. Full lockdown. Sweep the perimeter. I want every entrance covered. The next minutes passed in a blur. Ethan's men hustled them out of the apartment and down the stairs. The SUVs were already running, doors open, engines ready. They were halfway to the vehicles when the first shot rang out. The bullet struck the doorframe inches from Naomi's head. Ethan moved with inhuman speed, his body covering both her and Liam as more shots followed. His security team returned fire, creating a protective barrier as they pushed toward the vehicles. Get them in the car. Ethan roared. Strong hands guided Naomi and Liam into the middle SUV. Ethan dove in after them, glass shattering around them as bullets punched through the windows. The driver floored the accelerator before the doors were fully closed. Liam was screaming. Naomi held him tight, her own heart hammering so hard she thought it might burst. Ethan was on his phone, his voice ice cold as he gave orders. Track those shooters. I want locations, identities, everything. And get Marcus Yulov on the phone. This ends today. The name sent a chill through Naomi. Marcus Yulov was legendary in Ethan's world, a Russian crime lord known for his brutality and cunning. If he was behind the attacks, they were in more danger than she had imagined. The drive back to the estate was tense and silent except for Liam's quiet sobbing. Naomi rocked him gently, whispering reassurances she didn't believe. Ethan sat across from them, his jaw clenched, fury radiating from every line of his body. Back at the mansion, Mrs. Peterson was waiting with a doctor who checked them all for injuries. Miraculously, none of them had been hit. Ethan immediately disappeared into his office, leaving Naomi to comfort Liam and try to process what had just happened. Hours passed. Night fell. Liam finally cried himself to sleep in his new bed, clutching his stuffed dinosaur. Naomi sat beside him, stroking his hair, wondering how everything had gone so wrong so fast. A soft knock made her look up. Ethan stood in the doorway, his expression softer than she had seen it since their reunion. Can we talk? She nodded, following him into the hallway. He led her to a private sitting room, closing the door behind them. It's over, he said simply. What's over? The threat. Marcus Yulov and I reached an agreement. He wanted leverage to negotiate territory rights. I gave him what he wanted in exchange for guaranteed safety for you and Liam. Ethan's expression turned deadly. He picked up her phone, checking the number, already typing something into his own device. We're leaving. Now. He barked orders into his phone. Full lockdown. Sweep the perimeter. I want every entrance covered. The next minutes passed in a blur. Ethan's men hustled them out of the apartment and down the stairs. The SUVs were already running, doors open, engines ready. They were halfway to the vehicles when the first shot rang out. The bullet struck the doorframe inches from Naomi's head. Ethan moved with inhuman speed, his body covering both her and Liam as more shots followed. His security team returned fire, creating a protective barrier as they pushed toward the vehicles. Get them in the car. Ethan roared. Strong hands guided Naomi and Liam into the middle SUV. Ethan dove in after them, glass shattering around them as bullets punched through the windows. The driver floored the accelerator before the doors were fully closed. Liam was screaming. Naomi held him tight, her own heart hammering so hard she thought it might burst. Ethan was on his phone, his voice ice cold as he gave orders. Track those shooters. I want locations, identities, everything. And get Marcus Yulov on the phone. This ends today. The name sent a chill through Naomi. Marcus Yulov was legendary in Ethan's world, a Russian crime lord known for his brutality and cunning. If he was behind the attacks, they were in more danger than she had imagined. The drive back to the estate was tense and silent except for Liam's quiet sobbing. Naomi rocked him gently, whispering reassurances she didn't believe. Ethan sat across from them, his jaw clenched, fury radiating from every line of his body. Back at the mansion, Mrs. Peterson was waiting with a doctor who checked them all for injuries. Miraculously, none of them had been hit. Ethan immediately disappeared into his office, leaving Naomi to comfort Liam and try to process what had just happened. Hours passed. Night fell. Liam finally cried himself to sleep in his new bed, clutching his stuffed dinosaur. Naomi sat beside him, stroking his hair, wondering how everything had gone so wrong so fast. A soft knock made her look up. Ethan stood in the doorway, his expression softer than she had seen it since their reunion. Can we talk? She nodded, following him into the hallway. He led her to a private sitting room, closing the door behind them. It's over, he said simply. What's over? The threat. Marcus Yulov and I reached an agreement. He wanted leverage to negotiate territory rights. I gave him what he wanted in exchange for guaranteed safety for you and Liam. Naomi stared at him. Just like that? Just like that. Ethan's smile was grim. Sometimes in my world, the quickest solution is the best one. He gets what he wants, I get what I want. Everyone walks away alive. And what do you want, Ethan? He stepped closer, his eyes intense. You know what I want. I want my son. I want the 6 years I lost. I want a chance to be his father. And me? The question escaped before she could stop it. You? His hand came up to cup her face. I never stopped wanting you, Naomi. Not for a single day in 6 years. You think I would have looked so hard if I didn't care? You think I would have kept your things, your clothes, your books, everything exactly as you left it? Tears spilled down her cheeks. You kept my things? Everything. Like a shrine to the woman who destroyed me when she left. His thumb wiped away her tears. I was furious with you today. Part of me still is. But I also understand why you ran. I understand that my world is terrifying, especially for someone trying to protect a child. I was so scared, she whispered. Scared of what that world would do to him. To us. I know. And I can't promise there won't be danger. I can't promise it will be easy. But I can promise that I will spend every day of the rest of my life protecting you both. That you'll never have to struggle alone again. That Liam will have everything he needs and deserves. He doesn't need money, Ethan. He needs a father. Then let me be one. The vulnerability in his voice broke something open inside her. Let me learn who he is. Let me make up for lost time. And let me prove to you that love can exist even in a dangerous world. Naomi searched his face, looking for the truth beneath the words. What she saw there made her breath catch. Love, yes, but also determination, regret, hope, and a fierce protectiveness that promised he would move heaven and earth to keep them safe. This won't be easy, she said quietly. I spent 6 years learning not to trust you. Not to depend on anyone but myself. I know. And I'll earn that trust back, day by day, choice by choice. He pulled her closer. Give me a chance, Naomi. Give us a chance. She thought about Liam, about the father he deserved to know. She thought about the years she had spent alone, struggling, always afraid. She thought about the man Ethan had been beneath the violence, the one who had made her laugh and feel safe and loved in ways she hadn't known were possible. Okay, she whispered. But we do this my way. Slow. With boundaries. And if I ever feel like Liam is in danger, if I ever think this isn't working, I reserve the right to leave. Fair enough. Ethan's smile was genuine this time, transforming his face. Though I should warn you, I'm very good at convincing people to see things my way. I remember. She smiled despite herself. He kissed her then, soft and gentle, nothing like the passionate intensity of their past. This kiss was a promise, a new beginning, a bridge between the people they had been and the people they might become. When they pulled apart, Naomi felt something shift inside her. The fear was still there, the uncertainty about the future, but underneath it was something else. Hope, perhaps, or the possibility of healing. Tomorrow, I want to spend the day with Liam, Ethan said. Really get to know him. Will you let me? Yes. But I'm staying with you. No solo bonding sessions until he's comfortable. Deal. He pulled her close again. Thank you, Naomi. For raising him so well. For being strong enough to run when you thought you had to. And for being brave enough to come back. I didn't have much choice about coming back. Fate works in mysterious ways. His arms tightened around her. Maybe we needed these 6 years. Maybe you needed to learn your own strength, and I needed to learn what really matters. Maybe this is exactly when we were supposed to find each other again. Naomi rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. It was the same rhythm she remembered from 6 years ago, steady and strong and somehow reassuring. The future was uncertain. There would be challenges ahead, conflicts to navigate, old wounds to heal. But standing there in Ethan's arms, knowing Liam slept safely just down the hall, Naomi felt something she hadn't felt in 6 years. She felt like she had finally come home. In the weeks that followed, they built something new. Ethan proved himself patient and devoted, spending hours on the floor with Liam building elaborate structures, reading bedtime stories, learning to be the father he had missed being. Naomi watched their relationship grow with a mixture of joy and bittersweet regret for all the time they had lost. She and Ethan navigated their own relationship carefully, rebuilding trust one conversation at a time. He was true to his word, respecting her boundaries while making it clear he had never stopped loving her. One evening, 3 months after that fateful day in the coffee shop, they sat in the garden watching Liam chase fireflies. The summer air was warm, filled with the sound of crickets and distant laughter. I love you, Ethan said quietly. I never stopped, and I never will. Naomi looked at him, this complicated man who had turned her world upside down twice now. I love you too, she admitted. I tried not to. I tried to hate you. But love doesn't work that way. No, he agreed, pulling her close. It doesn't. Liam ran over, a firefly cupped carefully in his hands. Look! I caught one. Ethan knelt beside his son, examining the glowing insect with appropriate seriousness. That's amazing, buddy. Now what do we do? We let it go, Liam said solemnly. That's what Mommy taught me. Beautiful things need to be free. He opened his hands, and the firefly spiraled up into the darkening sky, joining its brothers and sisters in their glowing dance. Ethan looked at Naomi, understanding in his eyes. She had taught Liam that lesson about freedom during all those years on the run. But maybe freedom didn't mean being alone. Maybe it meant choosing to stay with the people you loved, even when the choice was complicated. Ready to go inside? Ethan asked, offering his hand. Naomi took it, feeling Liam's small hand slip into her other one. Together, the three of them walked back to the house, a family finally whole. The past couldn't be changed. The 6 lost years couldn't be recovered. But the future stretched ahead of them, full of possibility and promise. And that, Naomi thought, was more than enough. It was everything.